And joining us now to discuss, we're joined today by Ryan McBeth. He's an open source intelligence analyst, and Rebecca Grant is a national security analyst and senior fellow at the Lexington Institute. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
So Secretary Marco Rubio has been saying this about taking Iran out and decreasing their military power for years. So Tehran can't shield their nuclear program. Now, the president addressing U.S. airstrikes in the Oval Office yesterday.
We've had a very, very powerful impact because virtually everything they have has been knocked out now. Their missile count is going way down.
So what are you seeing and hearing, Ryan?
So the president is absolutely correct. The missile count is going way down. We're striking a lot of launchers. And this is essentially striking the archer, not the arrow. Every time Iran fires a ballistic missile, we have to shoot that down. It's a very expensive interceptor that could later be used if we have to fight China. But finding those launchers on the ground is a top priority because it keeps the rest of the countries in the Middle East a lot safer.
Yeah, well, now Iran, we are seeing, could face a tense situation and an uncertain transition after, of course, the death of the Ayatollah Khamenei. Initial reports we found, of course, indicate that the regime is moving quickly to appoint a new leader, and we'll see how that goes. Khamenei's son has been named, emerging as a potential successor. Dr. Grant, your thoughts on what this could mean, as well as the strike against all the Iranian officials yesterday that, as they were voting, took most of them out, as we were hearing from the president?
Since the Ayatollah was 86, this son had long been talked about as a possible successor. He's got IRGC ties, and I don't think that maybe he's the one. A good leadership emerging in Iran would immediately have the prize of sanctions relief and a road to economic recovery. But the number one priority for the U.S. is this military campaign, which is going really well. You know, they almost left it too long to take out Iran's military capacity. It really was now or never. And part of that, obviously, is the ballistic missile sites, other military capability, the leadership that goes with it, down to individual command posts of the IRGC. And don't forget, 17 Iranian Navy ships sunk, hugely important for U.S. commerce. Strait of Hormuz is open. But Americans need to judge this. The metric is the military campaign, the destruction, the wiping out of Iran's military.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, it's actually two transitions that we need to be concerned about. One, the transition in terms of moving Iran away from nuclear power through this war. But then how do you transition from war to the installation of new leadership in which we all hope has some level of common sense?
That is an excellent question, and I'm more of a weapons and systems guy. I'm on the kinetic end of things, but I think the transition comes when the Artesh, which is the Army of the People of Iran. Iran has two militaries: the IRGC, which is almost like the religious military, and the Artesh, which is the draftee army. Although there are volunteers in both, and I can tell you that if the Artesh can rebel and walk to Tehran and just shoot everybody who's in a Basiji or an IRGC uniform, they can set up shop, and that's kind of how things progress, where the Artesh might have a ruling council, establish a ruler, establish elections later, and have good relations with the United States. That is the most likely path.
The State Department now is warning American citizens in at least 14 Mideast countries to leave immediately. It's a terrifying situation, with the U.S. consulate in Dubai being targeted last night. Rebecca, what's the exit strategy now that the airspace is largely closed to passenger jet traffic?
I think Secretary Rubio has said they're working with the airlines to see what can be done. But I got to point out, Iran has struck from Turkey now at a ballistic missile attack, Turkey through Cyprus all the way down through Oman. But these attacks are scary, but they are not militarily effective. Even the hit near the consulate in Dubai, they hit the parking lot next door. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to hear this morning from the Pentagon. We heard from Admiral Cooper last night that the launch capacity is going down. And I think we're going to see less of these attacks. It's still a combat zone. It's still dangerous, but we are suppressing Iran's ability to do the drone and missile launches. It's a tough fight, but we're doing it.
Okay.
You know, Ryan, it's always America first. And we care about Americans, average civilians, inside Iran. But we also care about the civilians of our allies. So do you foresee, instead of commercial flights, actually the military flights in operation to get Americans and those of our allies out of harm's way?
Oh, absolutely. I know that C-17s are already being dispatched to that region in order to get people out who either couldn't get out or didn't heed the State Department warning. I actually helped someone get out just yesterday. They had to fly to Turkey and then from Turkey to San Francisco. America is always going to, if you're an American citizen stuck overseas, we are going to do our best to get you home.
Rebecca, this is a bit of an interesting story, a bit of an outlier here, but curious to get your perspective. There's some new reporting showing that about $855,000 in last-minute bets were made with huge profits put in by a few anonymous accounts on a betting platform, Polymarket, right before the Iran strike. So given what we're learning, how real is it that there's a risk that someone with inside knowledge is cashing in, and what can the U.S. be doing to stop it?
We're in a world where you can bet on absolutely anything, and political betting has become so much more popular. I don't think that people with knowledge of the plans of Operation Epic Fury got into this. I'd be awful disappointed if that was the case. I don't think so.
I hope not. We do know that they have the tracker of the Pentagon with the pizzas coming and going, but this seems to be pretty interesting that someone knew exactly the timing.
And you know, Ryan, the thing is that it's a lot of these bets are anonymous.
Right.
And that is the real issue here. If you, I don't care about betting, but if you bet anonymously, that is the issue, because we need to have clear transparency and verification. What say you?
Absolutely. I can tell you that if I were holding a security clearance, I wouldn't necessarily want to give up my $180,000 a year contractor job for a maybe on a betting market. But I can tell you this: sometimes people they talk to somebody else, and the anonymity of stuff like this is somewhat of a risk. And it's probably one of the reasons why I don't believe Americans are allowed to bet in Polymarket except on sports. And something like that could be an extremely dangerous, slippery slope where you could bet on when a political leader might get assassinated. And that could motivate people to assassinate someone. So yes, absolutely. Having something anonymous makes it a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, I like to bet that eventually they will get caught. So thank you, Ryan and Rebecca. We appreciate your commentary as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.